We're live.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of our Star Trek Adventures campaign titled The Chronicles of the USS Dharma. With me are uh, Boss Hog, played by Ian Wolfe, Salis Jakima Kirki, played by Florar, Rinan Chon, played by Ghost, and Stalek, played by Swamp. Um, just as a quick reminder, if you guys could go over your roles, um, starting with Boss Hog.
I'm one of the ship's engineering crew. Basically, he was a poor country Tellarite that was sent to school in the Starfleet, and he knows a thing or two about fixing things. He's a little gruff little guy, but he's an engineer.
Awesome. Moving on to Florar, who's playing Salis.
I'm playing Salis Jakima Kirki, who is a joined Trill. She is the flight controller or the pilot for the USS Dharma.
Excellent. And due to scheduling and players joining and leaving this group, Florar will also be playing our science officer, Lyra. Lyra is a Denobulan from an isolated colony, and she's been on the Dharma for as long as the rest of the group. She's an ensign as well, and she is the science officer who will be joining the group on most of their missions. Next up is Rinan, played by Ghost.
Yeah, Renan is he is a Betazoid. He is a security chief for the Dharma. He knows how to punch stuff, but also knows how to be diplomatic and handle situations that could be more delicate and do not require violence. He's actually fairly opposed to violence despite his occupation, but he knows how to inflict violence when necessary.
Excellent. And last but not least, Stalek, played by Swamp.
Yeah, Salik is the Vulcan medical officer or medical officers. Also dabbles in science, but mainly sticks to sciences that can help advance medicine. But yeah, that's about it. Oh, as most Vulcans are, he's cool and always keeps his cool.
Excellent. The USS Dharma is a Nebula class starship designation NCC 72217. Um, she is pretty new, and she has been stationed in the Gamma Quadrant for some time. Here is an image of the Gamma Quadrant as defined by Star Trek Adventures. Um, at the end of the last mission, when you guys rescued the science team of the planet Xerxes, you were based out of Narendra Station. You were going to take your first mission or your first posting with the USS Dharma, and the Dharma was stationed at Narendra Station. And on your way, you guys got new orders. You went to the planet Xerxes, rescued the science team there, and then the Dharma came and kind of help you guys get back to the ship because of the iron storms you guys went through. Um, Damaged your runabout pretty bad. If you guys kind of zoom out a bit, you'll see that Narendra Station is where I'm pinging it.
Yeah.
Okay. From Narendra Station, your mission right now for the past couple of months has been to um, kind of explore this uncharted space. Um, right here, just make sure the uncharted space in this area. Right here is Federation space. This is Romulan space. The red stuff is all the Klingon space, and this is the Shackleton Expanse. That is an area that has been discovered, but not many voyages have taken place to kind of map it. Um, your mission was to explore this uncharted space, and um, the last mission update was certain ion storms were again observed in this particular area. And given that the Dharma has a contingent of crew that rescued someone from a planet that was under the effect of ion storms, Starfleet thought it prudent that to send the Dharma there to uh, investigate and kind of catalog these ion storms and learn more about them. So that is where this mission begins. Second episode begins. You guys aboard the Dharma, somewhere in unexplored space between, just on the outskirts of the Shackleton Expanse. Um, okay, so Captain's log, stardate 41803.1. We've been searching this sector of space for a while now, and 3 days ago, Astrometrics reported a new supernova, only about 20 years old, on long range sensors. I've ordered us into a distant orbit around the neutron star it created. We plan to send probes to measure the size and extent of the supernova's impact on surrounding space. Once the crew have analyzed the data, I should have an update. So that is the like a quick update on why you guys are here on this map, looking at this expanding supernova. Um, we turn to the action on the bridge, where Salus and Rinan are on the bridge. Salus is at the helm. Rinan is at uh, the uh, combat and operations console. And both Captain Nobunaga Naga and Commander Singh are on the bridge as well. This is Commander Singh. Ensign Lira, do you hear me?
I do, Captain. Or
The
Commander.
ship is now in range of the supernova, and we have a visual on the neutron star. Would you mind coming up to the bridge, please? We need to start taking readings and analyze the neutron star.
Right away.
Okay. So Lyra comes up the turbo lifts, and Lyra, that's what you see on the screen. Um, the you guys are kind of situated right outside the nebula, the expanding supernova, and that little dot right in the center there is the neutron star. This is kind of what it looks like if you had like actual imagery. So now that you're on the bridge, how do you like to proceed?
Well, it's we're trying to send like a probe into it. Is that what we're trying to do?
Yes. So you can start by sending a probe um, into uh, the nebula and the growing supernova.
And it's not gonna. It's built so that like the pressure or whatever isn't gonna destroy it, right?
Yes, most probes on starships are pretty. How do you say?
They're
Uh,
very hardy.
they're very hardy, and the probe should last well into the supernova. Um, but it's unclear once it gets close to the neutron star what's going to happen, because neutron stars, uh, by definition, have high gravitational effects surrounding it. So let's start. To launch a probe is not it doesn't there's no specific task. It's just an action you take. Um, so you proceed to launch the probe. Um, make a science plus reason task to get information from your probe and the
I
ship's
don't
sensors.
have access to the Lyra token.
Oh, hold on. You don't? If you click on it, nothing pops up?
I can't even click on it. Oh, my bad. What is it?
It's going to be a science task with
Okay.
reason. And the task difficulty is going to be 2. You can also use the ship's sensors to assist you in this. Would you like to do that?
Yes, and can I? Would it be like? Would I have anything that would maybe affect this, like computers? My focus in computers? Would that help?
Um, your focus in astrophysics would definitely help
Alrighty.
while reading the sensor data.
So not this one, but maybe the next one.
No, for this one as well.
Alright, and that gives me what?
So if you just say that if the focus applies, just say yes during your roll. And then what happens is if one of the dice rolled is less than or equal to your discipline, which would be science, then you automatically get 2 successes.
And because the ship helps me, I do what?
So you first roll your task, and then I will show you how to roll the ship's task. Um, in effect, basically, as you manipulate the ship's sensor controls.
Alrighty. Test difficulty is
2.
2. And I'm rolling 2d20, right?
Yes, because at this
Okay.
moment you do not have any shared momentum to use from.
Well, I got 1 success.
Excellent. Now, if you on in the character sheet, you see there's one called the USS Dharma.
Oh, in there.
So if you click on that
Alrighty.
and you click on the sensors button, select ship science as the department.
Alrighty. And applicable focus.
No applicable focus on this case.
Well, the ship didn't do it either.
All right. So you sent the probe out, and you also try to read from the ship's sensors, um, and you are having a difficult time trying to um, uh, get the sensors all lined up from the ship and the probe. Um, you are welcome to request assistance from somebody in the group at this time. A good person would be engineering. Maybe the probe's communications array is not working or functioning well within that expanding supernova.
So, like, to ask someone to come over and help, right?
Mhm. You have
So,
comm badges, so you can always ask someone to come and help
alright,
you out.
so she's going to activate her little comm badge and say, Ensign Hogg, could you come up here and help me with this? It appears that our sensors might be having a bit of an issue.
Hog be down there and get the comm badge. He'll slap it. Be like, "This is Hog speaking." What? Come up. It's the sensors. Very well. I'm on my way. He'll grab his little gadgets and hit him a tube. Are the elevators called Jeffrey tubes, or just the inside
No,
crawlways
the
Jeffrey?
inside crawlways are called Jeffrey tubes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
that's what I thought.
elevators are the turbo lifts.
Yeah. He'd probably be in the middle of a Jeffrey's tube when he gets the call, and he'll come waddling out.
Awesome. So you take the turbo lift up, and you come up on the bridge as well. And you see that Lyra is at the sensors and science station, kind of working the controls, trying to get the um, sensors and the system to give back data for analysis. Um, so when you get up there, Lyra, what is it that you want boss to help you out with?
Well, I think it's something along the lines of the computer not being able to, like, correctly, like, find the probe to read data from. So that's what she would say. She would reply, it appears that our sensors aren't able to correctly pick up our own probe, which is a bit of an issue when trying to get the information from it.
Hog will look down. He's kind of, did you try running your standard bury and sweep?
Of course I did.
Sometimes with these supernova remnants, there's residual shock waves and static bubbles that could cause interference. Let me see what I can do.
She steps back for him and she goes, I don't believe I accounted for that.
Go ahead. So, boss, do an engineering plus reason task to try and um, kind of pinpoint the actual issue, which you know, from the possible causes that you defined, and then fix it. And this would be a task difficulty of 1.
Engineering. Reason. Electro plus power systems. Is it an electroplasma power system?
This wouldn't really be a power system. It's more along the communications and
Okay.
data synchronization stuff.
Yeah, I don't see any applicable focuses. And I'm not really fixing anything, so. And task difficulty 1, you said?
Yes. Excellent. So, boss, how does that look? You now start seeing like sensor data streaming through.
God, only I knew more Star Trek terminology.
Make up some.
Fucking make it up, they did.
Well, it seems to be the issue there. Standard variant sweep checked out all right, but it's some kind of subsonic interference. I've compiled a small algorithm that should help you assist in bypassing the turbulence caused by the residual waves. Just try it now. It seems to be working.
Thank you very much, Insane Hawk.
And Lyra, on your computer screen, you immediately start seeing sensor data coming through, and you should now have see a handout called Neutron Star under Computer Memory Bank's Missions,
There
Episode
it
2.
is. All right. So then she'll be more facing the computer than anything else, more just announcing the information to everyone and anybody who wants to hear it. She goes, the star that was here was collapsed into a neutron star, which is only about 10 kilometers in diameter, and this star contains twice the mass of Earth's own sun. As well as some very impressive information.
Nice. And then you hear Commander Singh kind of saying, that is fascinating. Is there any more information available on the star, Ensign Lyra?
Other than basic star statistics, unfortunately, no.
Do one more science plus reason. This time with the new updated protocols and algorithms that are running, you have better communication with your probe. This would be a task difficulty 1, just to see if you can get some more information.
And applicable focus, yes, still?
Yes. Astrophysics, yes.
All right. There we go.
Nice. You generated
2
momentum. So if you look at your the handout again, you'll see that there's now some new information that you can share with the group.
Had the initial star been larger, it may have collapsed into a black hole instead. Even as it is, it's still a hazard to our and all navigation systems, and all of the information should be carefully cataloged, as the immense gravitational field could mean that our escape velocity could reach well over 1/3 at light speed.
Oh, that is definitely fascinating, Ensign Lyra. And Commander Singh kind of turns on. Ensign Salis, can you please ensure that the ship does not get too close to the uh, edges of the supernova, please?
Can do. And she'll
And
put in the correct information necessary. Thrusters are locked. We shouldn't be getting any closer than we are now.
excellent. So, and at this point, Commander Singh says, "Very well then. Please continue with recording and cataloging all sensor data. We shall stay in this sector for the next couple of hours and then proceed on to our next waypoint."
We may not want to, Lyra turns and she goes, we may not want to stay here for very long. Time dilation around these things is very significant.
"I see," Commander Singh replies and says, "Very well then. Um, Under the hour, we shall move under the hour." And then he kind of turns to Captain Nobunaga, and Nobunaga nods. He's been silent throughout this entire exchange, listening in, nodding, but not saying much. You guys know by now that Captain Nobunaga doesn't speak much, but when he does speak,
He yells.
it, yeah, and it basically pretty much captivates all the audience around him. So he's right now just silent, listening in, but not saying much. You guys uh, spend about the next hour or so there, kind of cataloging all the information, and after which Commander Singh tells Salis to lay in a new course, bearing 023 Mark 41.
It's the commander who's
Yes.
saying that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, commander. And she'll put in the information.
And the Dharma starts kind of turning around and under impulse power starts moving to the new heading to start charting some another section of space. As you leave that sector and enter a new sector, you come across um, a red giant star, not many light years away. So, but interestingly, as you guys get close to the red giant, and a strange ship is also seen on the ship sensors and view screen. Um, at which point, Captain Nobunaga suddenly speaks. "All stop.
And Salis comes to a stop.
Do we have readings on that new ship out there?"
Do we?
At the moment, there's no new readings, but somebody should try and attempt a sensors plus science plus reason, or engineering plus reason, to try and see what the ship is about, and they can use the ship's sensors to get any assistance.
Lyra will try. Can I just do that from the sheet?
Yeah, you can do that from the sheet.
It's science plus reason.
Hold on. My bad. Science plus reason. Yes.
And I don't think I have any focuses
No,
for it.
not for this.
And what is the difficulty?
Task difficulty of 1 for now, just to get a basic ship readout as to
Alright.
what this.
Well, that's good. I only got one.
Nice. Okay, excellent. So let me share this with you. So you now have a new handout that you can read from and provide information back to the group. It's called Alien Ship.
Hmm. I'm assuming everyone can see the ship.
No,
On
no. The whole
sensors, right?
point behind this is that it only comes to you. So you are role playing all this information back and forth.
All
Otherwise,
right.
it'll just be me as a GM just rattling off stuff, right? So
Yeah. It's an odd-looking ship. A rotating discs, a rather wide one. With vertical protrusions emerging from the center at both sides of the disc. They taper upwards for about 1,000 m is meters, right?
yes, 1,000 meters.
Starting at about 200 meters in diameter and coming to a sharp point at the top. It's extremely thin. It's about 40 meters in height. It's also giving off some sort of unusual radiation. It's not traveling very fast. 30,000 kilometers a second.
Hmm. And now at this point, Captain Nobunaga is kind of thinking and, can we get any more information about the life forms? How is the ship moving? Do we have any more information from the sensors? And at this point, so that you can know of this mechanic, you guys can use saved up momentum to kind of make an immediate information request. So it's almost like role play wise, it would be you kind of based on the request of a commander, looking more at the sensor data and analyzing more, and then coming up with additional information.
Is it like one?
Yeah, one momentum for one question.
Out of curiosity, have we lost momentum due to scene change?
Um, I would say for this one, it's a pretty quick scene change. You would not have lost. So you have two momentum at this point.
Okay.
I
But
think
you
we
will
lose
lose.
momentum when it's longer. Like
Yes.
it's like if we finished a mission and then went like 2 months to the next mission.
Oh no.
No,
So
it's scene changes.
yeah,
It
as the
is.
scene changes. So this was a pretty short scene change. So I don't want to penalize you guys. But at the end of this scene, once whatever the scene is resolved, then you will lose one momentum.
All right, then I would like to spend one momentum to figure out what what kind of ship it is. I want because uh with that
You mean like
information,
what race or
yeah,
what?
what alien like race is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
creates
mm-hmm.
that kind of ship? Because like Salis is all about like ships and stuff, and she would probably know already. She'd just be like, "It's this."
Okay, cool. So that's one question, and the second question that your commander was looking for is like, is there any more information on the life forms? Because are there any life forms on board? Is there any information on that?
Can I just spend a momentum to get that information through the readings?
Perfect, awesome. So you can go ahead and give that information out in the same handout, alien ship.
There are life readings coming from it, though the radiation is blocking a lot of specifics and has quite an active propulsion system. Oh, no, never mind. It does not have an active propulsion system. If it is a ship and not a station, the engines are off.
Hmm. That is most fascinating, is what Nobunaga kind of responds. So we have a ship of alien design, one which we cannot identify from the ship's computers, and it seems to be just drifting out in space. And you say there are life forms on board? Is that correct?
It's the captain?
Yes, this is the captain asking.
Yes, captain. That is correct.
And upon hearing that, Renan would sort of pipe up and, Captain, permission to lead a boarding party to go there and see if there are any survivors. They may be in trouble if their propulsion systems are off. If our suits can handle radiation, then I think we should go in.
Hmm. Ensign Sean, you stole the words right out of my mouth. But I want you to make a pass um, on the ship. Can we beam aboard that ship?
Now, would that be a question for me or for Ensign
Any to
Hogg?
the group? Yeah, to the group. Like he's asking, can we beam aboard that ship? And he looks to either Hog or Lyra, who are on the.
Oh, I'm still on the deck.
Oh, would you have left?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Fuck y'all,
How
man.
much?
Okay.
He's wherever he's needed. It's like that task. Okay, let me go to something else.
Nice. So it's just Lyra on the science sensors.
Yeah,
So
Lyra makes sense for determining whether or not we could
Yeah.
beam aboard.
Do we have any more momentum?
you do not, but you
I
can
don't think
do
so.
um, let's see, you can do a science task, um, but this time you can do science and insight based on the readings you're getting, and you're looking specifically at the radiation that seems to be surrounding this object.
Would that be warp field dynamics, or is that? Oh, that's
Um,
transporters and replicators,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
yeah, transporters and replicators. So since the question is specifically whether we can transport it, you're trying to do an insight and science based on the readings to see if it's just a task
Yeah,
difficulty one.
that's difficulty one. Well,
It should be
according
on
to
the
the
news
reading,
sheet.
yeah, according to the readings, we are not able to beam aboard.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, we could still take a runabout.
Yes. At this point, Captain Nobunaga is kind of thinking, and he says, "Yes, Ensign Chon, your suggestion does have merit, but this is an uncharted space, and this may be an alien culture we have not come across before. Um, before
Then
you board, go ahead,
Silas
Silas.
turns and she goes, the station or ship, if it is a ship, may also be equipped with weaponry.
I think we're still obligated to take that risk, if you ask me. This would be the best way to extend an olive branch to these aliens if they are in trouble. Doesn't matter what language you speak, everyone understands the language of assistance and aid.
Hmm. And Captain Nobunaga at this point is like kind of thinking between what Salis says and what Renan is saying, and hmm. And then Commander Singh kind of chimes in and he says, "Captain, maybe what Renan, Mr. Ensign Chon says has a valid point, but rather than board right away, they should maybe make a couple of passes around that ship or station, find out more about it. Our sensors from this distance do not seem to be getting much information out." And then Captain Nobunaga kind of thinks for a bit and he says, "Makes sense. Proceed, Ensign Sean. Ensign Salis, Ensign Lyra, please join Ensign Sean." And then he kind of hits his communicator and he says, "Ensign Boss,
Yes, Captain.
I need to meet Ensign Sean, Lyra, and Salis in the hangar deck. They're taking a runabout. We seem to have a ship of unknown origins in our view screen, and we are going to investigate it. Please meet them in the run at the hangar."
As you wish, Captain. Over.
And then Commander Singh thinks for a minute and he kind of chimes his thing. "Ensign Stalic, can you hear me?
Yes, Captain.
We have a ship of unknown origin on our view screen, and we are sending out a, a boarding party to investigate and see if they need assistance. I would feel more comfortable if a medical officer joined the team, made sure that they are safe.
Of course, Captain. Very wise decision. I will meet them.
You will find them in the hangar. They'll be preparing a runabout to leave immediately."
Yes, sir.
And Renan would, of course, be headed down deck and It's just gonna be the five of us, right? We're not taking any red shirts with us or anything.
No, no. You are the muscle on this mission.
We are the red shirts, I think.
I'm the only red
Some
shirt
of us
here.
wear red shirts.
So you guys leave with your runabout, the Vedas. Boss is kind of, he's not showing it, but he is uh, he's happy that the ship is now it's like it's been fixed since your last mission. It the sensors are all upgraded. Has a working replicator. It has a working transporter. It is not really a dump of a ship that you guys left with when you're ready on your way to the Dharma for your first assignment. It is now a proper runabout, and boss, there is this kind of smirk on his face, but he's not showing any of it.
Salas feels the same, but she's not hiding it.
So you guys leave the USS Dharma with your with the Vedas, and you start approaching the this alien ship. And to kind of reiterate what Lyra said about the ship, it's a rotating disk. It's about 2.5 kilometers in diameter. And the vertical protrusions that you see are about a kilometer in length, end to end. And it's like comes to a sharp point. The disc also is extremely thin and seems no more than 40 meters in height. As you get closer, you start seeing that this thing is giving out some sort of a radiation. I want Lyra to make a science plus reason task. Let me actually just get you guys. Don't freak out that you're in space.
Is that where you see my message?
Yes, I will respond to you.
That's fine.
Yeah, later. So Lyra, go ahead and make science plus reason.
What is the test difficulty?
1. You're trying to determine what this radiation is, because now you're definitely seeing it on your screen.
Should
You
we
can
just
see
assume
like,
that it's test difficulty 1 unless you say otherwise?
yes, assume the task difficulty is 1 unless I
All right.
While Lyra's
I got
doing that, oh man, that's bad. While Lyra's doing that, I'm trying to also hail the ship on our little shitty console for the runabouts.
Excellent.
I'm rolling too good. I should have played Dungeons and Dragons today.
So while Lyra is doing that, how do you go about hailing the alien ship, Renan?
So I would, as we're getting into range, where I feel we can, your average modern communicators would pick up a hail, I would send out a hail from the Vedas and, attention unidentified ship, this is the Vedas, runabout for the USS Dharma of the Galactic, are we the Galactic Federation?
No, just say Federation stuff.
Federation. Of the Federation Starfleet. This is Security Officer Renan Chan. Hailing you to see if you require assistance. Our ship has noted that you have no propulsion. We wanted to make sure you're doing okay. We were trying to hail you. Gain confirmation of status. Please respond if you are able. And just let it go from there. Just wait for a response.
And you hear nothing actually. You just hear static back on the comm line. There's just no response from the ship. Lyra, you observe actually some more stuff regarding the ship. You notice that there are docking doors on the rim of the main disk. And on the top and bottom of the disc, there are engravings and painted symbols, which are definitely in an alien language. Um, and it does not match anything in the ship's libraries.
So Lyra will kind of. Is there like there's like a big screen or like a sensor where we can see out into
Correct.
space, right?
Correct.
Okay. So she will she'll walk up and she'll, if it has that functionality, she'll kind of like zoom up onto it and be like, "Does anybody know this language?"
And most of you would not. You have not come across anything like this. And there's no cataloging of any of that symbols in this in your computers, which also makes sense given the fact that this is uncharted space. Maybe this is the first time you're coming across this alien species or this alien ship or space station. Um, and now, like after some time has passed, after you try to kind of get a reading on the sensors, your Lyra, your computer now starts pinging back. The radiation that you're observing on on the on the spacecraft is remnants of an ion storm. It is basically this ship has been through an ion storm, something that you guys were out here to try and catch, almost in some ways like storm catchers, like trying to catch ion storms. And it looks like this ship has been through one ion storm. Um, and the radiations that you're seeing on it right now are basically after effects, basically remnants radiations on this ship. Um, Stalik, I need you to make a reason plus medicine check when you get this information.
All right. And you said
Because-
reason plus medicine?
Yes, reason plus medicine, task difficulty 1.
So Lyra goes, "Oh goodness. Well, it looks like the ship has been through a lot, specifically an ion storm. Which means if we're going in, and there's anything in there, chances are it's not something we've ever dealt with, and chances are never will again."
Oh, nice. Stalik, you know for a fact that ion radiation from ion storms can be lethal, but the radiation seems to be localized to the exterior of the ship. You also know that, given from what Lyra and Salis have described about what they see of the ship, it seems to be sturdy enough that the metal should prevent a lot of the ion storm seepage into the ship. Possibly, there is a slight chance there could be some more radiation in there. But you also know that short exposures to this does not have long-lasting harmful effects. You can't stay on the ship for days together, but a few hours investigating, trying to get to the bottom of this mystery is all right in your medical opinion.
Okay. So Stalik says the radiation seems to be localized to the exterior. Those inside should be okay, as well as enter, as long as we don't stay for an absurd amount of time. And then he says, if they are, be sure not to harm them.
Does anybody respond to Stalik's comments?
As far as being sure not to harm the people on board, whatever's on board.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he should. I should rephrase. With lethal force is what he means. Like harm them with lethal force.
That was never our intent. As Ensign Stellic, we're only over here to see what Ray. Damn, I can't speak today. What aid we can render.
You know, of course. Do you go by Ren
Yeah,
or Chan?
Ensign Sean, Ensign Renan, doesn't matter. I don't think he's laid
Yeah,
back.
of course. Of course, Ensign Chan.
At this point, Salus, you start observing something strange about this ship. You sense that while it's drifting, there is some gravitational effects on the ship while it's drifting. Give me a con plus insight. Sorry, con plus reason task with task difficulty 1.
And Salic generated 2 momentum, right?
Yes, I have banked that.
Or wait, no.
No, it's 2.
Okay.
You
I
had
didn't
3
have any
successes.
focuses though, so.
You rolled a 1.
Oh, right.
1s give you 2 automatically.
Do I have anything that could help me with this?
Yes, you have a focus of
Astronavigation? Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I thought. And test difficulty 1?
Task difficulty 1, yes.
Well, that's good. Jesus.
Nice.
Whew.
So you should now have access to a new handout called.
I'll have access to all the handouts by the end of this. Yeah, I figured as much.
So yeah, you can go ahead and relay that information.
So there's this like brief pause where Salus's eyes kind of go a bit bigger, and then it's more to herself than to anyone else, but everybody can probably hear it, and she goes, "It's being pulled into the star." Chances are it's going to take months for it to get there, but once it does, it's not going to be good.
And at this point, the information that Salus gave to you is now visible to all, and you guys realize what she's talking about. That given that there's a large red giant close by, and the ship without any apparent propulsion is definitely being drawn into this red giant, which will lead to its eventual destruction. It's now open to you guys to RP and.
But he did say you did say that it should take months, right?
Yes,
We've
it'll
got
take
time.
months. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it basically means that you guys hold the ship's fate in your hands. It doesn't definitely is unresponsive to your hails. It seems to be adrift, definitely caught in the gravitational pull of this red giant. So unless you guys do anything about it, it is eventually going to get destroyed.
Stalic would say, I believe we should inform the captain and then board.
Agreed, Ensign Stellic, and I would go to hail the ship. Our
And
ship.
you start now. This is where something interesting starts happening. When you start hailing the ship, you get through, but there is a lot of static on the line.
Our ship or their ship?
Our ship or their ship?
You mean when you're communicating back to the Dharma, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying
Yes.
to call back and speak with them.
Yeah, exactly. So when you get through, there is static on the line. There's like disturbance. The line is not clean, and you kind of like you hear that like static on the line, and you kind of hear, "This is Commander Singh. Report, Ensign Sean."
Commander Singh, Ensign Sean, we've picked up some astrometrics for this ship. Apparently he's being pulled into the gravitational field of the red star nearby. Now it will take a few months, but whenever it gets into that gravitational pull, well, this ship doesn't stand a chance. It will burn up. Just giving you a report.
Ensign Sean, I can barely hear you, but correct me if I'm wrong. You said the ship, and it kind of breaks out for a bit, destroyed Red Star.
Yes, Commander. If we do not correct the course, in a few months it will be destroyed by the red star. This ship.
And then there's a pause, and he says, Ensign Sean, there is a lot of disturbance on the comm lines. Proceed with caution. You are still a go to try and make contact with this space. Shh. And then the line kind of dies for a bit.
I don't even think I would respond at that point if the line's dead.
Yep.
Just cut the
And
line.
you guys know from your experience that when ion storms or ionic based radiations is there, things like communication and transporting becomes extremely difficult because of the side effects of the radiation.
Mhm.
So at this point, what would you guys are you guys going to try and board, make a few passes around the ship?
I'm on a board. I'm pointing.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
up
ready to board.
to Salas and point out. Start looking for docking bay doors. Whether around there, Henson Salas, see if you can get us. If any of these docking bay doors are open, we can try to get on board.
Are you quite sure they could still have weaponry? We should go around a couple times to see if they fire at us.
I think we're in range at this point. If they wanted to destroy us, they certainly had the capability to do so.
I'm more concerned with their loss of power. Is there any visible signs of battle damage, perhaps?
Are there?
So for that, you would
We
definitely
have-
need to take the runabout a couple of times around it to give it a good visual inspection.
Fine, take it around once, Instance Alice, just to see, but after that we start looking for entry points. We can't really dilly-dally with this.
Very good.
All right. So as Ensign Salis does that, give me a con plus control, Ensign Salis, task. And boss, based on the sensor readings, you're trying to get more information about the engines, if possibly. So try and kind of give me reason plus engineering.
Astronavigation still apply?
Astronavigation still applies.
Finally.
Oh,
82.
nice.
He's a
Keeping track
badass.
of all of that.
Try.
So you guys have 4 momentum in the pool at the moment. Always good to generate momentum. Oh, nice. You have 5 momentum in the pool.
5.
So give me a moment while I line up things for you guys. So boss, you should now have access to a handout called Alien Ship Close Inspection and Alien Ship Engines. And then once you have read them, you can kind of role play out that information to the rest of the crew. That was for you, boss Hall.
Yeah, I'm reading them, trying to put
Ah,
together.
cool.
Doesn't appear to be any visible signs of breaches. Structural integrity appears to be intact. So it grows most discerning, though highly unusual about this vessel. There's the biosignature feed that was coming in Seems that the life forms are there, but they're not exhibiting much movement, if any. The good news is it appears to be a breathable atmosphere inside still, so further assessing my summary of no breaches within the hull's integrity. Actually, it's quite confusing because the systems and technology inside there is not very different than that of the Federation's. It's almost as if it's archaic, maybe, I don't know. But it looks like if we do dock, we should be all right once we get inside, but I'd rather confirm these matters personally once we do reach the vessel.
Excellent. And those handouts are now available to everybody in the group, and you can read them at your leisure. So, Salus, at this point, you've taken a couple of rounds around the spacecraft, and you find that basically it is a good docking point somewhere about there on the outer rim of the spindle-like superstructure. You proceed to go ahead and dock, and docking is successful. It's a pretty standard procedure for you. You've done this many a time, and the docking from it's pretty advanced, your docking mechanisms, and kind of has this universal way of attaching to most ships, and this ship is not that different. So there is no issue docking. But now this is where it gets interesting, because the door, generally when you dock with a spaceship, you open your door, they open their outer, then you kind of go into an airlock, it cycles, and then the internal doors open. But since that nobody has been responding to your hails, and the ship seems to be kind of dead in space and adrift, when you guys dock, the outer doors do not open. Boss, you take a moment to kind of look around, with your engineering capability, and you do notice that there is a like a panel. Give me an engineering plus reason plus engineering, task difficulty 1. Just trying to determine what this panel could be. Is it some sort of like a release hatch or something of that sort? Oh, awesome. So you guys are now all full of momentum. So yes, it is some sort of a release mechanism, but it's behind decently thick metal plating. You gather that if you were to kind of heat and melt that plating with your phasers, you should be able to get past the plating and to the mechanism that you can then try and figure out a way to open this outer door.
Alright, so I'd be reading his log, interpreting the data. It appears that the lack of power is causing problems with our docking. Sure, we can land fine, but getting the doors open seems to be an issue. It looks like the manual release is internal on the other side. So perhaps we could use your phasers. Make a small incision here, here, and here. And I can release the coupling manually.
All right.
If you'd be so kind to stand back, I'll start fiddling around for his laser cutter.
Rinan, at this point, you kind of know that of everybody else in the group, you are best when it comes to phaser fire and controlling it.
All right, Ensign Hogg, let me help you with that and get my phaser out and Just let me know where I have to hit.
So you have, I would say, go ahead and make a phaser attack with the task difficulty of 2.
I'll use one of our momentum as well because we have
Okay.
6. Might as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be an extra d20.
Yes, so you'll be rolling with 3d20s.
Okay, focus applies. There you go.
Oh, nice. And you put back a momentum, so that's good. Um, go ahead and roll damage just for the heck. Oh, nice. So as boss was telling you where to, the 4 drill points to basically fire your phasers on, how do you go about doing that? You're successful in this task. How do you go about doing that?
Oh, it's just rapid, immediate. Like it's just on point, target, done. Cut through, ready to get moved, ready to move the panel and go in. Is that
So,
sufficient,
boss,
Denson Hogg?
Adequate.
So, boss, you proceed to remove the panel, and now you see that actually it's a 2-part mechanism. You can release the outer doors, but the release requires power to be kind of flowing through the circuits. You have options here. One option is to hook up your ship's power to this port, and then cycle the door to open it. The other is to go back to the Dharma and get like a portable power generator, and then hook that up uh, to the to that power point.
Try to come up with a formula to figure out how much power it would take off of the ship if we did it with ourselves.
You believe that if done right, you could pull just the right amount of power to kind of power the outer door and cycle it open. You also know if you do not calculate correctly, you might end up drawing too much power from your runabout, possibly stranding it. But you know that it's a low probability. So mechanics terms, like if you roll a complication, then you might end up drawing a little more juice than necessary, and some things might happen. But it's a remote possibility.
Okay.
You're too talented to let that happen, man.
Definitely. Famous last word.
Time to roll some dice.
This would be a task difficulty of 2. This would be your engineering plus reason to hook up your power lines from the runabout to this door power plug.
She appears to be completely dead. She needs what we used to call on our planet a jump start. And it's engineering and what?
Engineering and reason with the task difficulty of 2. You can choose to use momentum to buy some more dice. You have 6 momentum.
Can we get any more than?
No, you cannot have more than 6 at any given.
Then you should probably use some.
Yep. I would always use 1 at this point if we're at 6 already.
And this is using.
Also, if you do use.
Would my fusion reactor focus be applicable?
Yes, your fusion reactor focus will be applicable.
To regulate, make sure I don't overcharge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll spend 1 momentum because I have that untapped potential, so I could be able to get some back.
Awesome.
Yeah, we keep forgetting about that.
Actually, I'll spend 2 momentum.
Yeah, do that. I was gonna say spend 2. This is pretty big.
Yeah,
That way I'll have 4 dice.
Yes,
So
you have 4 dice.
3 momentum. Oh. Wait.
What is it? What is that, Swamp?
Isn't the second die? Doesn't it cost 2?
Yes, sorry, you're right.
But we
So
have
it would
we
be
have
3
six.
That's
momentum.
fine then.
Yeah.
Doesn't
No,
matter. Take
yeah,
use
that's
three.
totally
Use three
fine.
then
Yeah.
total to roll 2 more dice.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh
That's a good one.
shit.
Whoa.
Good thing. Good thing.
Not good at all. There's still a complication. He just passes.
You still pass and you create a complication. Okay, so on the whole, your team you guys are working tandem, right? Basically, the momentum that you guys are generating. If you look at it like as a brief slice of time, there is Lyra who's making all these sensor readings on the various aspects of the ship. Boss is basically getting all sorts of information about the ship's superstructure. Salis is doing a great job of kind of piloting around and make sure that the docking is correct. So you kind of basically building off of each other's successes. Um,
It adds one, the untapped potential, add one to the momentum.
I
Correct.
need to remember
So
this
I would
shit.
say that with your untapped potential and your sheer engineering genius, um, I would consume that momentum that you have generated by the following. So as you're basically working tirelessly to hook up the power systems and um, you get the whole thing up and running. You basically throw the switch to start powering up the external door, and just as like the power system is cycling and getting ready to like provide power, at the very last minute you notice that there is basically like a cascade cycle, a feedback loop that is coming in the system, which would eventually cause your power system to kind of short almost. um, you notice that in nick of time and you basically fix it at that moment, consuming that one momentum you just generated. um, you're able to power the door, external door, easily without any issues, and then you kind of throw the release mechanism and the door opens.
That kind of picture is doing the energy, and all of a sudden, all the lights and stuff on the shuttle just blink and kind of pivot and rumble. Like, what's going on there, Jensen?
I imagine we get the kind of like dimming of like.
Yeah, most unusual. Allow me to compensate. No, hit it. The Archie Bunker method, and things will come through, and you'll hear the hissing of the doors.
Nice. Awesome. So let me just change you guys here. So the doors
Not
open up.
ominous at all.
I've never seen a less ominous hallway.
Yep. So as the ship opens up, the external doors open up. You basically start walking into the airlock. You notice that basically, even though this is an image with lights, there is very little lights. You guys all turn on your portable flashlights that you carry for such situations, basically lighting up this airlock. And as it was previously determined, there's basically no power anywhere on the ship. You guys walk up to the airlock and you see that this too needs to be. You need some engineering to kind of basically be able to cycle it. Since you were able to successfully provide power to the external door, it is possible to kind of use some of that to cycle this internal door as well. Boss, you proceed to go and close the external door, basically sealing it so that you now are able to cycle this space. Rinan, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was gonna try to look for, because I don't want to use any more of our juice from the ship because we've already had some struggles with that. I was gonna see if there's any way we could either brute force or come up with some sort of creative solution to get through this door. I understand there's probably multiple bulkheads, but
What if we use some of the energy from some of us who have phasers who probably won't be using them?
So, couple of things. While your recommendation has merit, the fact that you don't want to pull more juice from your runabout, um, you also know that this is an airlock. There is an atmosphere on the other end of that door. If you don't cycle through this properly, then you will have an atmospheric pressure mismatch between your runabout, um, and that internal atmosphere. You are safer to do to cycle the doors with the juice from the runabout, but given the fact that Boss has done such a great job of hooking up the power, this would be a pretty simple task to do it. Most of the difficult, the uh, how do you say, the difficulty in powering up this section of the ship has already been kind of crossed.
Well, if if boss is confident, I suppose that's what it's gonna be then. Because
Might be able to redirect the existing conduits current into a biofeedback loop of some kind. Basically, flip one door shut as the other one opens on the same circuit. I'll give it my best.
Go ahead and make your engineering task, which would be engineering plus
This would be more control, like
yeah,
hands-on.
control plus engineering.
And difficulty is
Difficulty is 1, because you've pretty much done a good job of getting the external door opened and powering it up without causing much damage.
yeah, I'll still spend the momentum.
yeah,
Okay.
And still applicable focus.
Let me see. No, not really, not for this time.
Okay.
Woohoo. Excellent.
Untapped potential. Nope.
Okay. So you needed only 1 for this task. You generated an extra success. Again, what I will say here is
I'll spend
the
that
same
to
thing.
create an opportunity to basically to counter the complication.
So how does that look?
It's the same thing. We're off to a really shaky start. The ship docks, and in the process of trying to use its current, it looks like it's about to shut both of us down. The lights blink, and we get the door open, and then I'm like, well, allow me to I'll just redirect the existing current. When I do that, then the internal structure of the airlock itself just shakes and starts blinking, and it's like the doors close real fast, and the others are real reluctant to open, and then it opens with that big burst of atmosphere, just
Nice. So Boss is able to successfully open the door, and you guys are now inside the ship. So let me do a screen change, scene changes.
It's like exploring on an old rusted out boat.
Yeah, basically that. Exactly.
Maybe we'll find treasure. What was that?
So you guys are now inside the ship, and that's basically the corridors that you are seeing. And let me just read my notes so that I can get you guys the. Yeah, so the corridor has basically high ceilings. It's about 6 meters tall. Um, you get mild odors of fruit and flowers, it seems a little strange. Um, you will also notice now that on your tricorders there is some amount of interference. You can only deduce that this could be because of the ambient radiation. Um, it seems that some of the radiation has seeped um, past the metal hull, but nothing that none of your tricorders are like registering anything of um, severe level. So they're not in any immediate danger. The corridors are long, and they kind of like curve, like at the horizon. So like, oh yeah, you're in this on the kind of like on the circumference of the circular portion of the space station. Now you know that it's a spaceship. Um, and pretty much this whole corridor is dark. There is no power being supplied to anything in this corridor, so you can ignore the lights, from a theater of mind perspective. um, Pretty much every 100 meters along the corridor there are what seems to be computer terminals. They're all powered down. um, you're more than welcome to go there and investigate the terminals. um, Along the corridor, um, um, in this direction over here, and then kind of further down the corridor over here, you kind of get the sense that there are massive doors going further into um, the uh, the disk, right? So just so that you guys are like have a spatial orientation. uh, so this it's like a spinning top, right? So um and the center of it is a large disk, so you guys are on the circumference, on the perimeter of that, and there are doors that kind of go in further into inside the disk.
And Lyra is immediately going to go. Alice is going to walk over to one of the hallways and then turn to the rest of the group and say, which means there's a middle. If we can find the middle, we can probably fix this thing.
We need to be careful. We had to remember that we are trespassers on this ship. We weren't formally invited. Our presence may be seen as a threat. I think we stick together and perhaps have Ensign Hogg investigate one of these terminals, see if we can get them working, collect some information on what we're dealing with. And then, of course, I agree. I think the center of this disk would probably be where we need to go afterwards. We should collect as much information as we can before we proceed. This is a foreign territory for us.
Aye, Security Officer Chan speaks true. Says two most important places to ascertain right now would be Central Command and Engineering.
Perfect. So
My question is, what are the prime directive? Because if nobody seems to know what the hell alien species this is, should we even really be here? Wouldn't that be like first contact?
exactly, that's a good point to bring up. And that was something that was considered by your captain, but he still ordered you in, and that's something you might want to discuss with him once you get back, as to why he ordered you onto a ship for technology that was definitely alien, and this could potentially be first contact. So, couple of things, boss. From like a spatial orientation perspective, I'm going to say this is one such computer terminal that you can interact with and gain some more information. In response to Lyra's idea, Lyra, I would say you are more than welcome to run like sensor sweeps using your tricorder to try and get an idea of what lies beyond that door without trying to actually open it.
Well, it was Lyra went up to one of the terminals, and Salas is the one who went up.
Okay, sorry. Then Silas can run like a sensor sweep. Stalik, you are more than welcome to run like a um, like some tricorder checks to see if there are any um, humanoid
Yeah,
or alien species.
yeah. He wants to see if he can locate any the where the life forms are on board.
Perfect. So let's start with you, Stalik. So you give me a task of let's say I would say plus um, uh, control plus science, um, and the specific thing that you're looking for here would be xenobiology. So you have a focus of xenobiology. The reason I would say control is because given that there's some amount of residual radiation around you, you need to be a little more, kind of finesse your tricorder to get good readings.
Mm-hmm. Difficulty.
This would be a task difficulty of 1.
Okay.
Perfect.
Don't forget untap potential.
Oh, yes, challenge die.
It's a badass. It's an additional one.
Is that on only on the one or the
Wait,
one plus effect? I think it's on the effect.
Let me see.
Can somebody check? I think it's page
I'm gonna look at it right
190.
now. Untapped. Whenever this character sees at a task, they may roll 1 challenge die. The character receives bonus momentum equal to the roll of the challenge die and adds 1 point to threat if an effect is rolled. So on the effect, we get threat.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get extra momentum. So you needed 1, so you now have 2 momentum. So 3 momentum in your pool.
and then I can immediately use one to gain more information.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes.
Okay, you tell me what you tell me, and then
Sure.
I think you're
So
supposed to ask a question, huh?
well, yeah,
Yes.
but I wanted to know what I saw first, right?
Yeah, you can ask for further information.
Right. So
The initial outcome.
yeah, with that, I'm in some to know most matches that is recorded. If that makes sense, ever. Um, he says, I detect no humanoid life forms. It seems as though, and he like kind of taps his tricorder. The bio readings coming from behind the door is interesting. He looks at the others. That doesn't seem right. And he shows everyone the screen and said, he shows the chart, here that would be average to small, and then he points at where they are. Just quite a large amount.
Hmm.
do you make any like theories on what those bio readings are to the rest of the group, Stalik?
Lyra was just about to be like, they are quite interesting reading. What do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, so there's he.
Saying a forest or on the
Well,
other.
yeah, so logic dictates that there is no guess. It could be really anything. Any matches that of what would be normally the bio of a forest.
Could be a science vessel. Even some archaic species have been known to try to propagate their vessels with their own oxygen supplies generated from terraforming inside the ship itself.
But where are the crew? Surely I suppose an automated system could maintain the forestry or whatever they have there, but certainly there are crewmen who are designated to be here in case anything goes wrong, or to study
And
the effects.
Lyra speaks up and she goes, or perhaps it's something more out of fantasy where the crewmen are the vegetarians.
That seems a bit far-fetched.
No
Does
need
it
for this.
now?
Yeah. No need for this metallic structure. And stuff manipulated by hands if they were vegetation. Is there any way that we might be able to use these readings of plant life to try and isolate other life forms away from them? Would we need a live sample, perhaps? Basically trying to make a filter to go, okay, there's 20 million life forms on here. What's not a tree?
Interesting.
Lyra's gonna move over to one of the terminals and try to first look it over, and then if she is able to access it or boot it up in some way.
Okay, perfect. So Swamp, Stalik, you're more than welcome to kind of think of something in response to boss's idea. If there's some way to do it. In the meantime,
Yeah,
I'm going to kind of move the action to Lyra and Boss Hog. So Lyra, when you get to the terminal, you see it's the same thing. It is a computer terminal. It has a screen. It has a keypad. The keypad definitely has markings on it, but they're of alien origin. You cannot quickly make out what those characters mean or how they're put together to form commands or language. You Do you call boss over to kind of help you get this thing powered up?
Of course I do. And Lyra turns and she goes, Ensign Hog, these terminals are rather strange. Perhaps you could help me get one booted.
And he just grunts and starts tracing his fingers along the sides of the panel and see how it comes apart.
So you're able to make out like the edges of the panel, and they seem to be like basic like double jointed vacuum rivets. You know that you can use one of your you know uh, space wrenches to try and get those rivets out. You proceed to do that. You take apart the panel and you see behind, and they're pretty standard power lines connected to the terminal. And you take your tester out and you kind of test the power lines, and you see that there's nothing wrong with the power lines or the communication lines. There is no damage to the unit. It's just that there is no power flowing through it. That is why the unit is not powered on.
Looks like this issue's one best handled by finding their engineering department first. Managed to fix that, and managed probably to fix the whole ship.
Doesn't seem like a bad idea, but do we have any direction of where that could be?
And Salis speaks up from the doorway and she goes, "We're on a top. The best place to go is the center."
Unless anyone has any better ideas, I'm inclined to agree.
I doubt this place even has its own artificial gravity. Especially not while powered down. It's probably has its own artificial gravity specifically from the momentum of its spinning.
It would make sense for the engine to be in the center as well.
So that's when I would say, just to keep things like true, Lyra would actually chime and say, I'm kind of putting words in Lyra's mouth, but I would chime and say, that would be incorrect, Ensign Salis. The spin of this spaceship is actually too slow to generate its own artificial gravity. The fact that we are experiencing gravity and the fact that we actually have breathable atmosphere, it means some part of the system or the ship is working, while other parts of it are not.
Perhaps the systems were shut down to conserve powers on these primary functions.
Why need to conserve power? There wasn't any.
Vessel has been through an ion storm, is my guess.
Perhaps the ion storm
So-
damaged the engines, but nothing else.
Swamp, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so Stalik, who's the other science person? Lyra, correct?
Later, yes.
He his tricorder. He'd been thinking about Boss's comment, and he points to because it's of information. And he shows Lyra the tricorder and asks her, could you pinpoint these abnormal readings throughout all of the ones more common?
I can definitely give it a shot.
So basically, like, they're kind of working in tandem to
Perfect. Awesome.
filter through.
Who's taking the lead on this particular task that you're trying to achieve? Would it be Lyra or Stalik?
I think it's, especially if he thinks it's alien related, probably Stalik. If it's, if it's unknown alien related, definitely Stalik. He would giving her direction, unless she to say otherwise. But
Yeah, so are you taking the lead on this, or is Lyra? I just need to know that. So
Stalik, I think.
I would say Stalik, definitely.
perfect. So Stalik, I needed to make a reason plus science with the task difficulty of 2. And Lyra, you will be assisting this with your own, I would say, insight plus science. So let's do this in tandem. So Stalik, you need to hit a task difficulty of 2. Just a quick rules overview. When somebody is assisting you, they roll. So in this case, Lyra will roll a 1d20. If you roll, and then Stalik rolls at the base 2d20s. If you generate at least one success, then any successes that Lyra generates will add to yours. You can also choose to buy additional die from the momentum pool, but that's the basic mechanic behind assisted tasks.
Yeah, so I will use one because I don't want to find out there's something crazy on. So I'll use a momentum.
Okay, perfect. So you roll three 2d20s with the science plus reason from your end, and you can apply xenobiology focus.
And then the d20 from Lyra.
Yeah, from Lyra, you just roll one single d20.
Do I also apply focuses? Because I have a computer's focus. I don't know if that would help at all.
I would say apply your botany focus because it's large bio readings that you're trying to classify.
Okay. Test difficulty 1.
In your case, task difficulty 1, and you roll a single d20. Insight plus science.
There we go.
Nice.
Perfect. Awesome. So you guys meet your task difficulties and you generate 2 momentum in the process. So let me first update that. Perfect. So what you guys end up both of you doing is that you start looking at your tricorders. You start gathering all the information on all the bio readings, right? And then you start classifying the bio readings into like buckets. And then you basically start assigning based on the reading, start assigning like characteristics to buckets, and based on that kind of an approach, you basically create what is basically called an histogram, where you say, okay, this bucket of bio readings, there are like 10,000 of them, and this one has 5,000 of them, and that one has like 20,000 of them. So based on that kind of an approach of putting your heads together and coming up with that approach, you are able to confirm that what lies behind that door is actually a massive forest. Um, your tricorder readings as a histogram of like categorical species, you can clearly see there is one category that is like overwhelmingly large. They have the readings kind of match what plant life forms should match. Some of those within that bucket, there are a whole bunch of them that have the height, like they're pretty tall. Actually very tall, and basic botany, you would know that okay, those should be trees. um, there are a few life forms also, but they do not register on the humanoid scale. They're much smaller. They could be birds or insects. Can't say for sure till you actually open the door, but based on your collective work, you know that there is definitely a forest behind that door.
So either they've cut out an entire slice of their own planet and launched it into space, or this might just be a ship specifically built to deliver and produce foods.
Any responses to those theories?
That sounds. Those are interesting theories, but they sound like they could be a bit of a leap in logic. I think we should just take it at face value for what it is. They do have some sort of botany core in this ship, and as this is a top design of ship, perhaps this is their command center as well. Could be something part of their culture. We're sort of in uncharted territory here.
Could be a dying planet's arbitorium.
Do any of you try to communicate back to the Dharma about your recent findings or any kind of mission updates?
I'm assuming it's not going to work, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah.
Because we lost him before we were even inside. I think we're already assuming
Okay.
we're on our own.
Cool. Okay. So I just wanted to confirm, because sometimes I find I might have to like ask you guys just to make sure that you guys know that that effect is actually in play. So
No, yeah, I
perfect,
think
cool,
we're just
Yeah.
fucked with that in regards to that. So
sounds good, cool. So is the decision to go and open that door, or go walk around the entire periphery of this disc-like structure? What are your next
I'm
actions?
going to the middle.
Walking around the entire outside would take far too long.
Yep. Go to the
It would
source.
be easier if we just open the door and we go in.
Okay.
It would take months to walk around.
No, not necessarily, but
Probably not. It would take a very long time.
and we don't
It
want to
might take
spend
hours or
consecutive
days.
days in here because of the radiation either. Sooner we get it done, the better. We don't know how long it would take to walk around. It's a fairly decent sized ship. So I mean, Renan is gonna.
So
Go ahead.
stop. Sorry. Go ahead.
Fine, no, go ahead.
Stalic, he didn't really get any readings from any rect, or is it was it too masked because of the?
Sorry,
I know the tricorder doesn't have super.
you're cutting in and out. I didn't quite catch your question.
Did Stalic? I don't know I know the tricorder doesn't have a lot of range, but yeah, vicinity there was no other like organic readings that he found. Correct.
No, yeah. So basically, the task you did with Lyra was you're close enough to the door that the thickness of the door would not really get in your way. While you have not been able to like pinpoint accuracy categorize each and every life form behind the door, you were able to kind of bucket that information, right? Like, think of it this way: you're looking at a scene, right, and you say, okay, the scene has 20 trees, 30 plants, 40 gophers, and then like say 50 bees. Mm, you know the number of each of these biosignatures, but you don't know what they are. So you can't say there are bees behind that. You know that there is a small creature, most probably an insect, that seems to be flying in a hazard, like not hazard, sorry, a zigzag pattern, right? Or there is a biosignature, a large bucket of biosignature that closely matches what could be a tree, because it seems that this biosignature is about meters in length, not very wide. So based on that, you're able to make conjectures of there are mostly trees, plants, and small organisms. Nothing in the humanoid or bipedal category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should move on then.
Cool.
Stalic would agree with moving towards the middle.
I would. Well, I think we should go to the middle at this point and see what we find. And start walking that way.
Cool. So as you get to the door, it's the same song and drill. The door is not is not powered. Um, but by now, boss has become extremely adept at opening doors on this space station. Nothing here seems to kind of get in his way. With the task difficulty 0, boss, you go through the same procedure of control plus engineering. Roll it, so if you generate any momentum, we can kind of pool it. So you basically are doing the same thing. You're using your phasers to kind of cut through the panel, find the release door mechanism, um, and basically open it. The emergency release mechanism.
You still succeeded.
Yeah, it just didn't generate any.
Didn't generate any successes. Cool. So give me a moment while I do a scene change.
Drop one momentum.
Drop a momentum.
We done 2 or 1?
Hold on, I'll let you know. Where were we? Main card. You will have 2 momentum
Okay.
at this point when the scene changes.
Whoa.
Okay.
It is very blue in here.
Yep. Let me. Okay. So there's a handout that should be listen. All of you can see it. So when the doors open, you all are first assaulted by a wave of odors released from behind the environmental seals. Fruits and other plants, animal scents, and powerful pheromone laced emissions, strong enough to overwhelm anyone accustomed to the antiseptic smell of a starship. The room is dark, and you slowly realize that you are looking at an enormous jungle forest maintained within the ship itself, um, clearly large enough to fill the disk's vast interior. There are sounds as well, buzzes of insects and trills of small bird analogues, um, but less than what one might expect in an actual wilderness. Um, the plants and trees of the forest are of bewildering variety. There are trees that stretch up 20 meters or more. And there are like vines and epiphytes like Spanish moss that connect the higher branches in a messy canopy overhead and basically block any view of the ceiling. You also notice that most of the plants kind of have this um, are bluish or purple rather than green, um, and but and that in some it piques your interest. That it's strange that
Jesus. You okay over there? Is that Wolf or
Nope, I'm dead.
okay?
was it? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah. So the plants are also like uh, the reason it looks blue is because I wanted you guys to get that visual. Like when you look at these plants close, the leaves are not green; they're more like bluish and purple. The flowers are of variety of different colors, but the leaves are specifically bluish and purplish in color. Also, it is, even though there's light everywhere, it is pretty dark. It is, think of it as like an extremely low light setting. And any of the light you see is just just like very low light that's kind of passing through the canopy overhead. um, Given what happened when you opened the door, that assault on your senses, with all that, like that organic matter and the plant, you know I want you all to do a control and command task to kind of collect yourselves and not get overwhelmed by all these senses. Because keep in mind, you've been on a starship for a few months now, and you have not set foot on a planet or even a forest. So this thing is throwing you off.
Composure focus.
It's almost like a composure test. So control plus command, and the task difficulty is
Yeah,
2.
would a composure focus apply?
Composure focus.
Yes, composure focus would definitely apply on this.
What about the fact that I'm always in the simulation rooms, man? Always doing outdoorsy shit? No, I'm just fucking around.
I'm always rock climbing in a simulation.
Yeah, and my rocks are
So-
always blue. No, I'm just...
So you
Color?
so Renan, you can apply a composure.
Mhm. Command control.
Command and control, task difficulty 2.
Okay. Ooh. Task difficulty 2, you say? Is anyone else using the momentum?
So generally when we're doing this, and I did this the last session also, you kind of go in order and basically build off of each other's successes, right? And and kind of RP wise, what it looks like is one of you kind of quickly gets the sense that, okay, we need to calm ourselves and not be overwhelmed by this. They're able to calm themselves, and then they kind of help each other to focus and not lose there. So Salis went first. She definitely succeeded and generated a momentum. So you now have 3 in the pool, and Salis, definitely go and roll your the challenge die for your untapped
That's only
potential.
if we spend momentum. Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
we don't roll challenge if it's not momentum spent.
Okay. So next up, who wants to
I'll
go?
do it.
You have. Okay.
I'll use a momentum.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad it did.
Nice. Okay, so you passed Rinan. Swamp, you had a question?
Yeah, about Colinar.
Oh, yes.
The
Hold on. Perfect.
that's kind of
Yeah, that might apply.
What?
I just want to read
That's
that
the
specific
technical
sentence.
term for
the Vulcan rite
Vulcans
of
not giving a fuck
passage.
about emotions. Or being able to control them, rather, excuse me.
Oh, so like in
That's when they
situations like
learn.
this, they are
Oh,
more
perfect.
dangerous than others.
So yes. So Kolinar does apply, and interestingly, Kolinar applies this way. It reduces the task difficulty by 2. So basically, have a task difficulty of 0. You can choose to roll if you want. And how it plays is this, right? So you have been poring over the sensor readings of your tricorder. Um, Logically, you know what to expect. So this doesn't throw you off.
Yeah, so I will roll.
Do we want to
I mean,
do like a role play of like Salis getting her bearings and then getting Renan?
Yeah, go ahead, do that.
All right. So as the doors slide open, the waft of all the natural pheromones and noise kind of hits Salis, and she stumbles back. But she's still somewhat new, so she's not like it's not all super. It's more of just like a nostalgia that comes over her of like this is what a planet is like, because we were just out on a planet, and she is able to quickly regain her composure, although she sees that her other crewmates are not faring as well, and she turns to Renan and she sort of coaxes him back out into the ship and then brings him back in, but much slower.
Awesome, cool.
I was just overtaken by the beauty of it all.
Yes, it's quite a sight.
Stalic's a baller. 1 momentum.
Awesome. Stalic generates a momentum for the group. How does that look, Stalic?
So as realizes one of his companions wasn't quite prepared and needed assistance, he immediately, already having his been in great shape, will move to the Tellarite and just be there ready to assist if anything goes wrong.
Can I nerve pinch him?
So, boss, do you want to go next, or does Lyra want to go next?
I can go.
Go ahead.
I'll spend a momentum out of the pool and
Clamps.
This is, you said composure, endurance, or anything that's not going to have any effect. It's just
Hold on. It would be, I believe it was control plus command. Yes, it was control plus command. And I would say your endurance as a focus would apply.
I just basically see him walking in, just snorting. Is like, what is that smell? like I said, I spent a momentum.
Yes, I noted that.
And difficulty 2, you said?
Task difficulty 2, yes.
Ooh.
Ooh.
He's going
Roll
crazy.
a challenge die anyway. He's did spend momentum.
I didn't.
Oh, you
I
didn't
didn't
succeed. That's
succeed.
right. Never mind. Disregard.
You have to. Yeah, you have to succeed. You have to
Okay.
succeed at the task.
So, okay, perfect. So let me just put this on you.
It'd be like Kurt when he went all Native American.
Cool. So, boss, you start kind of getting a little overwhelmed, and you kind of, in some ways, also surprised by yourself, because as a Tellarite, you have resistances to things like this, but you were just not expecting it. Like how does that play? Like if your mind was focused somewhere else, or
Just tries to shrug it off originally, but he just slowly starts getting captivated by the colors, and it reminds him of some of the places that he used to strip mine on was it the planet Talarn?
mm-hmm.
He's just kind of he's lost in his own thoughts of home, because he, like I said, he was a country bumpkin, wind up becoming an engineer, so something about it, he just gets lost into daydreaming about home when he was a young little Tellarite.
Cool. Moving the focus to Lyra.
Would botany help in this situation? Being accustomed to kinds of...
Yes, I would say yes.
It's command and control.
Command and control task difficulty 2 with the focus in botany.
There we go.
Awesome. So Lyra, in some ways you welcome the smell. How does that play out?
It's more like as everyone else is, as the door opens, everyone else is kind of stopped or turns or is like affected by the smell in some way, but Lyra just walks in and she resists the urge to just sit down in this nature and just take it all in, because this is kind of what she's more used to, because she is around plants more often than she is around people.
Nice. Stalik, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah. So as soon as the Boston thought, Stalik kind of does the snap in front of someone's face. Too close, but shoulder, one hand kind of in front of his face. He says, "Boss, are you here?" Trying to like snap him out of whatever situation's going on, and if it doesn't work in any way, he immediately would.
So, boss, do you kind of catch Stalik doing that? Are you still lost?
Oh, he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just this foliage here reminds me of a childhood memory. It's actually quite remarkable. Almost feels like I'm back home. Basically ignoring what he says and just give him the facade that it's cool.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, you guys are now in the forest within this strange spinning top, or slowly spinning top, like a spaceship. What are your next actions? We've got about another 15 minutes, so we can do some basic role play here. Any tasks you would like to do, and then pause, and then continue the next session.
Lyra is going to turn on her tricorder to pinpoint the direction they need to be going to reach the absolute center.
Okay. That's what Lyra is doing. Anybody else?
Yeah, Stalic is doing something similar with his tricorder, but more kind of where, just trying to identify life forms, a way different area, correct?
Yes, perfect. So you're trying to kind of categorize the life form. So in many ways, you're trying to get an understanding uh, 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 of this forest in front of you. Correct, Stalik?
Yeah, exactly.
And Lyra or Salus is trying to find navigation through the forest.
Lyra is trying to get a base navigation through like she's just trying to find she's not like full like this is the path we need to take. It's more like compass trying to figure out like this is how we get to the very center of this place.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with Lyra. Actually, let's start with Stalik. So Stalik, I want you to roll me a science, um, a science plus reason. Um, but in this case, no focus applies because now you know that it is really like true xenobiology. It's more like xenobotany or the task difficulty on this will be 2 because you're trying to now categorize a large group of bio readings.
Okay. Xenobiology
Will not apply because now this is more like
will not.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I will use.
A momentum.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, use momentum because this is gonna be it, and for this session anyway.
And I think I will also raise the. No, I'll just stick with the momentum. So you said what was science?
Science and reason.
Okay. No whammies.
Oh fuck, that's a
Ooh.
whammy. Roll a challenge die. Hopefully we.
Well, I mean, I still succeed,
yeah,
but
yeah. Challenge die though. Maybe we can blow that momentum if you get one. No.
That's fine. And like I said, right, complications as a GM, I use them in many different ways. So and sometimes even if it rolls, it may not make sense in the situation.
so this may help you with your complication. Also, the whole reason he's doing this is because he is like people could probably see it as he's even doing this. He's kind of like looking at Boss the whole time. He's worried that something like in the air, something with the things here have affected him in some way. But also what is here in general. His mind is wandering a little as he's doing it. He's not as focused as he normally is.
Cool. So yeah, perfect. That's actually perfect. Your sensor readings of this area, you get a couple of pieces of information that I'm just going to like kind of just whisper to you. Just give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay, I've sent over a bunch of information over to Stalik. Lyra, I want you to make this would be um, I would say this would be control plus science. As you're trying to gauge this vast topography and landmass in front of you. And it's very strange saying all these words out in space inside a spaceship, but that's basically what lies in front of you.
And
It's going to be a task difficulty of 2. And you will
probably
apply
isn't going to help me here. Is it?
you can apply botany to this.
Okay.
The way I'm playing this is while there is north south per se, and the general directions would be on a ship like this coreward or rimward, you know. Um, this what you're trying to get is basically the way trying to see how the trees are kind of growing, right? Like how the lay of the land has.
Yeah, like kind of see if they if they're bending outwards, then they're probably bending that way because of the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
So, yeah.
task difficulty 2.
Task difficulty 2. Control plus science.
We still have 1 momentum, right?
Yes, you have 1 momentum.
Then I'm going to spend it.
Perfect. Oh, nice. So, so you're successful in your task, Lyra. So feel free to role play what you want to do, and then I'll give you a general heading you should have.
So there's this kind of Lyra just kind of stands there for a bit, messing with her tricorder, and then it makes like an activating noise, and it shows just like kind of like in the top part of the screen there's just like a basic arrow, and then there are all these readings that are like how fast the ship is rotating and what, and like it probably tries to get like more information on the plants and probably doesn't get a lot, but it just, and the basic arrow at the top is just pointing them to the direct center. It's not telling them if there's anything in the way or if they could just walk that way and then get to the center, or if there's going to be any obstacles. It's just telling them this way is the center.
Perfect. Yeah. So using like things like the spin of that central disk and the way like the water in the there are streams over here, and then there are trees, and you just kind of your tricorder is able to pick up that slight shift, because if this was like a natural formation, there would not be this spin applied to this, right? So your tricorder is able to pick that up, and you are able to make that this direction. If you move in this direction, that's where the center of the disk will be.
And Lyra says that and points, and she says, "We need to go this way. It's going to become very disorienting if we don't keep track of which way we're going."
Perfect. So are there any RP in response to Lyra's findings? Stalik, do you want to discuss anything based on your findings?
Yeah, Stalik says it took him a little while to get information as Lyra speaks. He says, yes, it would be wise for sure we keep our bearings. There's definitely something very odd happening here. None of this plant life seems to be much more than I'd say 20 years old. And and he points around, and you all see like that there's like other plant life similar to that around. And he says, it seems to be eating away the radiation. There's not much, or I'm not sure it's capable of.
You this one?
Yeah, did you not hear any of that?
So you're cutting in and out, so we didn't catch any much of what you said. Can you just say that again?
He said that we should make sure to keep our bearings because something's not right here. It seems that this the moss and other small plant life like that around away the radiation, and if it, then perhaps I'm not sure what else this forest is capable of.
And Salis will speak up and she'll go, then perhaps it would be best to continue moving quickly.
Brennan, boss, do you have anything to respond?
Yeah,
Uh,
I would. I mean, I'd be just looking around because I'm not a scientist. I'm just admiring the view and looking and maybe do some light investigation to look around and see what I can gather from a security officer's viewpoint. But as the conversations are going on and people are talking about getting lost, and part of me almost wants to get lost in this place, but that is the reason why I know we can't. Something is amiss with this forest. It's not just how beautiful it is. I don't know. I feel something is off in the air. It is confusing. We should not waste time.
since Boss failed his role and got some complications already, he's just gonna go, right, you're right, let's make haste. And he'll just sprint off with his goat-like agility. And he's going hunting. He's basically gonna run ahead. Sure, the group can catch up with him, no problem. But for roleplay, he just like sprints off, lost in his own little world. And if I could, I'd like to make a reasoning and security roll to try and hunt something. Maybe.
Sure, go for it.
Basically looking for tracks. That would be cool if I found tracks, because human, whatever. Because I'm still assuming I'm within my own cognizance. I'm not like loop-de-loo, but basically just like, all right, let's make haste and go sprout ahead, get lost in the moment, and then start hunting, looking around.
Yeah, it's the combination of animal instinct, the need to hunt, and I'm still a scientist. Let's hunt something that can help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
go for it with security and reason. Task
Yeah,
difficulty one.
security. Where there's security and reason. And hunting, I wouldn't have any applicable focuses.
You'd have to make a pretty specific character to have applicable focuses for that.
Nice. Boss, you actually you kind of, let me just move your token a bit. So while everybody's talking, you kind of hear them in the periphery, and then you move up here, and you actually see some tracks. You're not quite sure what those tracks actually are or what they mean, but there are definitely like bipedal tracks, and they kind of let me just put in a different color here. Hold on. Kind of going in this direction.
The picture as he's running and squatting, by the time y'all catch up to him and stuff, you see him squatted down and he's running his fingers over the grass and kind of looking. He has that lost look in his eye, but at the same time, if you get closer and try to interact with him, he's not lost. He's found something.
Excellent. And that is where we shall bring the session to an end. Lyra, in the group has found a heading that should take you to the center of this disk. Stalek has made some insights into this strange forest that lies ahead of you. Um, Boss seems to be kind of in his own world and kind of run off to the side somewhere and seems to be like his nose pretty close to the ground looking at something. Rinan is taken, he's in awe with the forest in front of him, but he also knows that he needs to get everybody back safe and sound. Salis is keeping up with everyone, but there's part of her wishes she was back on the ship.
Always.
Always she kind of doesn't get why she's always on these boarding parties. Why can't they just transport and beam themselves over? And
You freaking losers.
and that's where we shall pause this session. You can stop the recording.
Okay.
You never answer